Talk to women who are conquering their corners of the world. And today's Glassbreaker is a conqueror in the space of activism, advocacy, the grooming of women for leadership, social change philosophy, and media. She's a visiting research fellow at the Africa Leadership Center, King's College, London. And she's the founder of the African Women's Leadership Initiative and the African Women's Development Fund. She's also the CEO of Above Whispers Media Group. And of course, she is also the First Lady of Ekiti State. My guest is Her Excellency Bisi Fayemi. Thank you so much for joining us on The Glass Ceiling. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can. Hi.
Okay, great.
Thank you for joining us on The Glass Ceiling.
Thank you for inviting me, Sandra.
And thank you for breaking the glass ceiling, really, because that's who we bring on this segment of the show.
Oh, thank you.
What was your vision when you created African Women's Leadership Initiative?
Well, it's the African Women's Leadership Institute, and it was a program of an organization I was working with at the time based in London, an African Women's International Development Organization called Akina Mama wa Africa. It's a Swahili phrase. It means solidarity among African women. And what we were doing at Akina Mama was providing support for African women who were based in the UK and in other parts of Europe, advocacy programs, as well as frontline services in the community. So we decided to establish an African Women's Leadership Institute in 1996 with the regional office based in Kampala, Uganda. And the vision behind that was we wanted to be able to provide a platform for young African women between the ages of 25 and 40 at the time. I was young then. I was in my early 30s when we started the African Women's Leadership Institute. And we had just finished the Beijing conference in 1995. We had all gone to Beijing. We had all seen what it would take to implement the Beijing platform for action. So we felt that as young African women, whether we were based on the continent or in the diaspora, we needed to have the networks, the skills, and the capacities to be able to basically pull our weight as young women. And we knew that we couldn't do it on our own. We would need the support of older African women. So intergenerational organizing was very important to us. So we came together to provide this platform to enable us provide training and capacity building and information sharing across the continent. And over the past 25 years or so, since we established the African Women's Leadership Institute, over 6,000 women have gone through the institute. And some of those women are in key decision-making positions today. One of them is actually the Vice President of the Gambia. Madame Isatu Toure is an alumnus of the African Women's Leadership Institute. Impressive. We also have ministers, we have top government functionaries, we have heads of international agencies, as well as many of our alumni who run their own organizations locally. So it's been one of the most successful women's empowerment initiatives I have had the pleasure and the opportunity to have been a part of conceptualizing.
How does it work? How does the AWLI work?
As I said, it's a training institute. So when we started, what we would do is every year we would bring 25 to 30 women together from different African countries to Kampala, Uganda for an intensive training program. And we had a faculty drawn from different parts of the continent, women who had a lot of experience in a range of issues on gender mainstream issues, feminist advocacy issues, political organizing, communications, and so on. And when the participants go back to their countries, it is expected that they apply some of the skills they have learned to the work that they were doing at the time, or go and establish new initiatives. So some did exactly that. Some continue to work in their existing organizations, applying their leadership skills and growing, with the knowledge they had. And some decided to just set up something that they felt was missing in their communities. And an example is Josephine Chukuma Efa, who a lot of people know in Lagos, who runs Project Alert. She was one of the first to pass through the Leadership Institute in 1997 in Uganda, yes. And it was after she left the Leadership Institute that she decided to pursue the idea of starting Project Alert as the only organization at the time providing a range of services for survivors of gender-based violence in Nigeria. And today, Josephine has done absolutely fantastic work in the country, and there are many others like that.
If you just
so the idea was, it was a training of trainers model. People were expected to go back, share the skills, and build on it to ensure that the chain is not broken.
Lagos, if you just tuned in, you're listening to Hard Facts on 99.3 Nigeria Info. It's a Wednesday, so we're bringing you the glass ceiling. Today, though, we have a Glassbreaker. She is, amongst many things, the First Lady of Ekiti State, Her Excellency Bisi Fayemi. And she just spoke to us about African Women's Leadership Institute, and she's talked to us about how it works. Before we go deeper into AWLI, though, because I want to talk about it some more, let's talk about the fact that your vision was for the entire Africa right from the onset. Same with the AWDF. It's noteworthy because a lot of organizations or individuals who are trying to address these issues tend to start with a vision for their country or maybe their region. So I'm curious what led you to be Pan-Africanist, if you will, right from the get-go.
Okay, thank you for that, Sandra. You see, that is why I started out by explaining how the African Women's Leadership Institute came to be.
Right.
It was a project of a Pan-African organization,
right.
Akinamamawa Africa.
Right.
The women in Akinamamawa Africa were women from different parts of the African continent, based in the UK, from Uganda, Kenya, South Africa, Namibia, Nigeria. And they were in the UK with different identities. Some were students, some were spouses of students, some were refugees, some were asylum seekers. And almost all of them had strong ties to political and social justice movements on the African continent. And so with that history, with that background, when we decided to start working on the African continent, it made sense that it would be Pan-African, that we would draw on our members who were from different parts of the continent and who wanted to keep staying engaged with the different social justice and political movements that they had been involved with back home. Now, the African Women's Leadership Institute, as I said, therefore involved women from different parts of the continent.
Right.
The African Women's Development Fund grew out of the Leadership Institute because, you know, you asked me how the Leadership Institute works, and I told you people will go back and try to do things in communities.
That's right.
The issue of resources kept coming up. And so we felt the need to establish an entity that would provide resources to African women who wanted to develop their own initiatives, their own ideas.
Right.
And so at some point, because I've been with Akinamama for over 10 years and I felt I needed a new challenge, I needed to change. And I've always been pretty good at mobilizing resources.
Right.
So I teamed up with two other African women,
Okay.
and Dr. Hilda Tadria, who is from Uganda,
Okay.
and Joanna Foster, who sadly passed away a few years ago from Ghana. And the three of us established the African Women's Development Fund. And the core goal of the African Women's Development Fund was to provide financial resources. It was the first Pan-African grant-making foundation for African women's organizations. So our goal was to provide resources to women's rights organizations across the continent.
Tell me some of the most successful projects the AWDF has helped fund.
Sandra, that's a tough one because AWDF has funded well over 2,500 women's organizations.
Okay, so tell me some of your favorites. Tell me some of your favorites.
So, but I'll tell you some of my favorites. I stepped down. I'm still on the board of the African Women's Development Fund, and I stepped down as CEO in the year 2010 when I moved back to Nigeria. when my husband became governor of Ekiti State. But I can tell you, some of my favorite projects include starting from the work we did with women's organizations around gender-based violence in different parts of Africa. We have been funding a rape crisis center in Cape Town, South Africa for many years now. We've also funded programs for the Women's Specialist Hospital in Nairobi. That was the first time I would come in contact with a hospital dedicated solely to addressing women's issues, specifically gender-based violence. And now we know of such facilities to be sexual assault referral centers as well. So, and then we also funded Sophie's Place here in Nigeria. We helped Project Alert in Nigeria acquire their own building. And there is this women's rights organization in Sierra Leone that have been working for a long time on women's political participation, the 50-50 movement. We funded a building for them as well. And we funded the first refuge for women living with HIV/AIDS in Ghana. There are so many I could name, but those are some that I'm particularly proud of. And we've also funded over the years quite a number of women's organizations across the continent who are engaged in advocacy with the African Union and the United Nations. So we funded them for them to be able to engage in advocacy at those levels, attend international meetings, and do a lot of peer learning.
Now, you've led various campaigns to enact laws that create a better environment for the protection of rights and the promotion of equal opportunity. What are some of the biggest challenges when it comes to getting buy-in from lawmakers, from other stakeholders? And I'm also curious, in your successful experience, how can these obstacles be overcome?
Thank you, Sandra. Well, here in Ekiti State, I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity of being able to successfully work on 4 bills that have been passed into law. We have the gender-based violence prohibition law, which was passed in 2011, and we revised it in 2019, so that we could also domesticate the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, known as the VAP Act. Then I also worked on the Gender and Equal Opportunities Law in 2013, a HIV anti-stigma law in 2014, and last year we passed a treatment, care and protection law for sexually abused minors. My experience has been that because we live in deeply patriarchal societies, there would always be resistance. So you always have to start by identifying those who will be willing to listen. There are hardliners who don't want to know. So you start with those who you think you can have a conversation with. And once they have the information, once they have the data that you are providing and the lived experiences of those who are the receiving end or the issues they are trying to address, the survivors of gender-based violence, whether it's rape or domestic violence and so on, then people understand that it really is a problem that needs to be fixed. And also I've learned that framing is also important as well, because you cannot try to correct the wrong in the community by labeling people in the community as bad or evil or devilish or backward. You frame the issue as something that should be a win-win for everyone. And so once we're able to get over all those issues and build as much goodwill as possible amongst various stakeholders, the assembly, the State House of Assembly members, and the women in the community, religious leaders, traditional leaders, and so on, it became a whole lot easier. And my experience of working on these legislations at state level has been really affirming. And the fact that we've got the laws passed in the first place shows you that, the efforts paid off. It is my experience working at a national level, trying to get the Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill passed with some other sisters, that has been quite difficult. And again, the issue is, patriarchal norms and values, and the default of a lot of people always trying to use culture, tradition, and religion to keep women in their place and deny them a voice and agency. But we shouldn't be deterred. The struggle continues. As I said, I found out that sharing information, building consensus, ensuring that you are able to build a coalition of other interested parties with civil society and everyone else. It really helps.
I'm curious what you think should be in place. What structures you think should be in place to pressure to put pressure for proper implementation. So I'm thinking about things like so let's talk about your vantage point as chair of the management committee for the implementation of the Ekiti gender-based violence law, right? What should women's groups be mindful of if they want laws to be more than just pieces of paper? Because you said something that struck. You said framing is important, right? So one could say that that's one aspect. But what structures should they have in place to apply pressure for proper implementation?
Okay, yes. Well, from my experience, I found that first of all, every law that is passed, and we can take the gender-based violence law as an example, has to have what we refer to as a coordinating mechanism for implementation. The law that establishes the gender-based, the law that was passed, the GBV law of Ekiti of 2019, right, makes provision for a gender-based violence management committee, right, which is the implementing body for the law. Right. This implementing body is made up of statutory agencies as well as civil society organizations. Right. And the governor appoints a chair to lead the management committee. Right. In our own case, because I believe because of the work I put into it and the passion I have, and my track record, I was asked to chair the committee. Okay. So asking a senior person to lead the process is an indication of political will. Everything starts from political will, and it can fail due to a lack of political will. So the most important structure you need, if you want to use that word, is political will. Following on from that, you need the entity to be able to function properly. And so the GBV Management Committee that we have in Ekiti State is structured in such a way as to enable us address the different issues that can make implementation effective. So for example, we have a working group on access to justice. And people like the Attorney General, he chairs that subgroup. So you have the Attorney General, NAPTIP, and the Human Rights Commission, FIDA, and so on. They are members of the Access to Justice Working Group. Then we have another group that looks at treatment, care, and protection, because they have to be able to provide that for GBV survivors. And so the Minister of Women Affairs is a part of it, leads that, as well as Ministry of Health. Then we have education and reorientation. We also have media and communications. We have community engagement, and then there's monitoring and evaluation. All these different components are key to ensuring that the law can be implemented adequately. But following on from all that, for women's rights organizations who want to play an active role in the implementation of these laws in the state, right, they need to find out how the GBV committee or whatever the state coordinating mechanism, however it's described in the state, they need to find out how it's constituted. They need to make sure that there's adequate representation of civil society. Here in Ekiti, we have civil society organizations as well as specific women's rights organizations like FIDA, for example, and the Association of Women Journalists. They are on the committee as well as a couple of others. So we also have other specific products to enable us to do our work effectively, like a sexual assault referral center. We have a shelter in the state. We have a GBV fund that enables us to rehabilitate survivors. And generally, we have a really good relationship, as I said earlier, with different stakeholders in the community. Because without community engagement and involvement, all this work is not going to be possible.
Fair.
Communities don't own it.
Fair. If you just joined us, Lagos, we're wrapping up our conversation with our Glassbreaker on the show today. She is an activist. She is a visiting research fellow at the Africa Leadership Center, King's College London. She is the founder of the African Women's Leadership Institute. She's also the founder of the African Women's Development Fund. She's the CEO of Above Whispers Media Group, and she's also the First Lady of Ekiti State, Her Excellency Bisi Fayemi. Before we go, I have to ask you, there are too few women in positions of power and influence in both public and private sector, while there are so many capable and competent women for these roles. So are there strategies that you think women must adopt to get more of our numbers through these doors that have remained shut?
Yes, it's so sad that we have that gap. There are a number of strategies that we need to look at.
Yeah.
For me, I believe legal legislation and policy frameworks are absolutely key. Because if we keep leaving everything to the discretion of political leaders, then it means that every political season, we will keep begging the president of governors to appoint women, to, give women tickets and so on. So we need to have legislative and policy frameworks, which include provisions such as affirmative action and quotas that can enable us level the playing field for women. As you said, it doesn't mean that we don't have competent women out there, but because we have so many restrictions or barriers placed in the way of women because of our cultures, our traditions, and the way we interpret religion, it means that women have to work twice, even thrice as hard for them to get things that just come, so naturally to a lot of men who feel that leadership is their right. Leadership is the right of women as well. And it is not fair that women always have all these obstacles placed in their way. It's also important for us to have women championing other women, because at the end of the day, women are at least 50% of the voting populace.
Right.
So if more women are determined to support other women, then both parties will recognize that strength and will be willing to give women tickets for them to win elections. Because in my, experience of being advocacy for political parties, one of the questions they will ask you is, if we give a woman the ticket, will she win? Can she win? They want to get tickets to someone who will win. And then I'll ask them, why would they not win? Because half of those who turn out to vote, sometimes even 60% of those who turn out to vote will be women. So if we encourage women to see that it's okay to support other women, that will go a long way. Then, of course, we have to keep, encouraging women to build social and political capital. That's one thing that comes to that men are allowed to do naturally, because it's assumed that men are the ones who will be leaders. And right from when men are boys, they are released to go and play football, on the field and, make friends with, 20 other kids. And as young girls, they are confined in the kitchen to learn how to make the perfect eba and egusi, when we should be out there making friends.
That's right.
We go through school, we get married and we change our names. Nobody can trace us. The men don't change their names. And so it's very difficult for women to build social capital. It is that social capital that translates into political capital when you need it.
That's right.
So we are now encouraging women to build their own social and political capital. Go to your constituencies, however you define your constituency. It could be where you live, it could be where your father comes from, where your husband comes from. Go home, get involved in what is happening, support social programs there, let people know you. And you can decide that you want to run, or you can decide that you're going to mentor someone, but women should be politically engaged, and hopefully that will translate into more numbers for women in decision making.
Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining us on the Glass Ceiling today. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Thank you for inviting me.
Lagos, let's take a break. When we come back, more conversations from GlassCon 2021. Amazing women on our panel. You will hear from them, you will talk to them, and you will talk to me. I am Sandra Ezekwesili. Don't go away.
Money. Need money? Rent money. Need money? Rent money. Visit rentmoney.com or call 0700 5500. Need money? Rent money. Need money? Rent money. Need money? Rent money. Need money? Rent money. Visit rentmoney.com or call 0700 5500. Need money? Rent money.
I know what it means to fire on. Fire on, fire on. To fire on when everything inside me says stop. To fire on even when it seems I'm no longer in the running for the prize. Because when you're your own hero, even when you fall, you pick yourself up and keep going like the elite super commando that you are. I am a super commando, and with my super commando energy drink for just 150 naira for a can. In short, don't call me Erica. Call me Super Commando Erica.
Fire on and conquer your daily hustle with Super Commando Energy Drink. Available in can at 150 naira only. Get energized to keep going all day, every day. Super Commando Energy Drink. Fire on.
Guy, you don't see that new funny video for Twitter? That one with the boy.
You mean this one?
What of that brother Shaggy News Kitty? Where they circulate WhatsApp?
This one.
What of that meme? Where the guy?
When mouth open like this, ba?
Mr. Know It All. Which data you they use know all these things?
Now, Glow new data plans get me.
Are you serious?
With just 50 naira, and they get 50 MB. And with just 100 naira, and they get 150 MB. We have to use chat or browse on top Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, and even Snapchat. Don't dull yourself, oh. Dial *777# now. Make you begin the browse, they go.
Glow Unlimited.
Hey, Oga and Madam, you don't see the room now. Make I show you the toilet where you could share with the other neighbors.
Now the toilet be this.
What's the happen?
Oga agent, you mean say na general toilets clean come white like this,
Yes, now. The hypo toilet cleaner that they use to clean and kill the yama jams come out.
Hypo toilet cleaner? Wow.
Wash your toilet at least once a week with Hypo Toilet Cleaner to keep it sparkling clean and gem-free. Available in sachet for 35 naira only. Madam, now 2 years land on one collector.
We go pay for 6 years,
Football is back, and there are more ways to win on BetKing. With mega odds and the widest market selections ever, you can increase your winnings with an accumulated bonus of up to 225%. Don't have an account? Visit betking.com to sign up now and claim a welcome bonus up to 100,000 naira. Stay safe and keep kinging. BetKing, playground for kings.
God doesn't find that. When they talk about find out the remedy, they learn from where we did. Because to find it easy for me. I wanted that is what we say easy way for me. Now linking my NIN to my glow line. Don't tell me play. I feel just first now pick up my phone. Go use the USSD code by dialing *109* my NIN hash. Or quickly, I go just text my NIN to 109. I feel also visit glowworld.com/NIN on top my super fast internet. If I come the area where we say Glow World near me, let's just walk enter. And if you don't forget your NIN, dial *346#. You don't get them back. Some people there, they call the ask question. We they can register for NIN. Don't worry yourself. Just walk enter any nearest Glow World. No let them disconnect you from all the amazing voice and data offers where they inside Glow. Linking your NIN. They're safe and it's 100% free with zero wahala.
Glow, Grandmasters of Data.
I have to read for my exams, but I feel so sleepy.
Hey, drink Amber.
Omo, this work, I tire gone.
Alaye, you don't go drink Amber.
I'm not sure I can meet that deadline.
You can't, Joe. Drink Amber.
This traffic na die, oh. Guy, not to drink Amber.
That's right. With 1 can of Amber energy drink, you get your daily recommended dose of nutrients, vitamins, amino acids, citric acid, and a blend of guarana, a natural caffeine to give that huge rush of energy to get you through your day. And don't forget that refreshingly premium taste that is sure to blow your mind.
Last, wahala for uno dey drink Amber, oh.
Amber is proudly Niger and available in stores near you. Amber energy drink. Stimulate the energy in you.
Hey, Michael, how's life? Life is great, Frankie, but it's really hectic, man. Right from when I leave for office in the morning to the long hours I spend at work, and then the traffic snails while coming back home, leaves me feeling tired and stressed all the time.
Guy, I can totally relate to that. I've found a solution. Revital.
Revital combines the power of Panax ginseng, 11 vitamins and 9 minerals, and is clinically proven to fight tiredness and stress. Revital, physically active, mentally alert. A quality product from Rambaxay, a Sun Pharma company.
My people, how far? See, if any kind person say you want the coded password for your bank app, I be your PIN. Your card PIN, I be the 3 number where they back of your card. Your pay ID, I be the answer for your security question. I beg no give them all this information them suppose they coded. You no suppose share them with anybody. Make you wise up, no make them scam you. This message now from Kuda Microfinance Bank, the bank of the free. Make you download Kuda for your Play Store or for App Store to open accounts. Make you start to enjoy our banking.
Are you a young creative designer? Do you love culture? Tune in to The Ethical Fashion Show every Friday to discover how sustainable fashion trends are leading development of African design talents. The Ethical Fashion Show every Friday, 12:15 p.m. on your #1 station for talk, 99.3 Nigeria Info. Brought to you by Ethical Fashion Initiative.
The tantalizing tunes of the guitar. The sensational blare of the saxophone. The rhythmic beating of the drums. And let's not forget the enchanted and gifted vocals. Yes, I can already hear the sound of greatness as Nigerian Idol returns with a bang.
Yes, the Nigerian Idol is back with a bang to bring you amazing vocals from all around the country. Who will be the next idol? Tune in to catch all the audition drama from the 14th of March on DSTV channel 198 and GoTV channel 29. And then join IK and the judges for the main show premiere on the 28th of March on Africa Magic Showcase, Urban and Family at 7 p.m. Proudly sponsored by Biggie Drinks.
Charles!
Yes, mommy?
Go and bring 2 sachets of hypo bleach for me.
Why 2?
Because I'm using 1 to soak the whites and using 1 to kill all the germs.
But I can't see any germs here.
They are so tiny you can't see them. But they are there. And that is why I trust only hypo bleach to kill them all.
Make your white fabrics whiter and your household free of illness causing germs and viruses with the disinfecting power of hypo bleach.
Do you know that you can obtain a specialist degree along with professional certification? Yes, that's the Wellspring University Edge. Wellspring University offers specialist degrees in cybersecurity, software engineering, information technology, computer science, accounting, taxation, mass communication, and business administration. For other courses, visit www.wellspringuniversity.edu.ng. Wellspring University offers postgraduate and undergraduate courses. Please call 0704 255-0535 or 0907-333-0526.
You are bold, you are courageous, you are consistent, you fire on despite challenges. You know that in life, it's never how you start, but how you finish. So stay focused and fire on with Super Commando Energy Drink all day, every day. Because you are the hero you have been waiting for.
Fire on and conquer your daily hustle with Super Commando Energy Drink. Available in PET bottle at 100 Naira only, in cans at 150 Naira, and glass bottle at 50 Naira only. Get energized to keep going all day, every day. Super Commando Energy Drink. Fire on!
Are you a resident in Lagos? Do you own a business or are you unemployed? Learn how to access and manage resources for your business. Listen to The Portal, on 99.3 Nigeria Info every Saturday from 11 a.m. as we discuss employability, funding, business management, working business strategies, and so on. You will learn from business experts, captains of the industry, and young entrepreneurs. The Portal every Saturday from 11 a.m. Brought to you by 99.3 Nigeria Info in partnership with the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund.
99.3 Nigeria Info, your number one station for talk. Let's talk.
You're still listening to Hard Facts on 99.3 Nigeria Info. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili, and this is The Glass Ceiling. You just heard from Bisi Fayemi, a glassbreaker who happens to be the First Lady of Ekiti State. She was telling us about her advocacy and activism through the organizations that she has set up and led. Now, let's talk some more about GlassCon 2021. I really wish that Mrs. Fayemi could have been there, by the way, especially when we were talking about implementation of laws, right? Because she has a lot of experience there. But we still had a fantastic panel of very knowledgeable women with hands-on experience, and they did a wonderful job of breaking down the issues, painting a practical picture of what women need to do to get equal political power. So let's listen to some more of what they said on March 7th, 2021 at the Glass Ceiling Convention 2021. I'm Sandra Ezekwesili, Lagos. You can also watch on Facebook, Nigeria Info 99.3, YouTube, Nigeria Info FM.
And so we did all kinds of things. We had the police. We had to go to the police. We had to have the people in the constituency create a wedge around me. They created a wedge around me that made it difficult for me to be attacked by the people. It does help that there has never been a woman in public office in my constituency, and the people were willing to give me a chance. Okay, now on the day of the elections, it was very, very violent, but I was removed. But my support family base, the men in my family, were there, and they protected me from that. And that's very important, that for you to run in an election in the Nigerian space, you must have a strong male base. Without that strong male base, it's almost impossible to do it. Were there women at the polling units? Absolutely. But when it came to dealing with the men and the violence, I needed the men to deal with it, and they dealt with it. And I've used that that means in my 3 elections, and they have always worked.
All right then. Now, people often say things like, Derinsola, I'm coming to you with this question. People often say things like, work your way up, start from the bottom. And this is also a question that Zainab can throw insight into, because she did start from the bottom. But there are still obstacles there, right? You've got party godfathers who dictate who runs for local and state seats. And I have to ask, and I'm hoping that this is even a realistic question, is there a way to break the stranglehold at the grassroots? I'm going to start with Derinsola, then I'll come back to Zainab, who actually won a council election in the FCT. Derinsola?
When you say break the stranglehold at the grassroots, do you mean break the Godfather stranglehold at the grassroots?
Yes. Is it possible?
Okay,
I did say I didn't know it was a realistic question.
Yeah, I'm also going to be very pragmatic about this. Now, the issue of godfatherism is one that I believe we don't discuss in enough depth. Basically, he who pays the piper dictates the tune. So if you have one person that has built a structure over decades, they've funded that structure for a long time. Pretty much everybody in that structure is in whatever position they're in because of them. I think it goes without saying that they own that structure. And I think that's how godfathers emerge. People don't just wake up and become godfathers or declare themselves godfathers. It's influence that they've built over a lot of time. Now, there's one thing we've been telling ourselves and one thing we've been working at. I've also been working at this also. As I said earlier, he who pays the piper dictates the tune. If you're a member of a political party, there are obligations that you're actually supposed to meet, paying your dues, for instance, and other such issues. And at the same time, there's power in numbers. I think this is a point that has been reiterated several times through the course of this discussion. And if you have enough young people, say in a particular ward or in a particular local government, you're from a local government that decides the vote, and perhaps you're not satisfied with the kind of candidates that have emerged from your local government, and then you mobilize a lot of young people or a lot of young women or a lot of women or a lot of people generally to join the party in that local government. If you have strong enough numbers, you can influence who emerges as a candidate in that local government. So when we talk about building influence and taking over structures and being able to influence decisions of the party, that's why you find a lot of young people saying, join a political party. It's because if we don't have the numbers, we cannot attain a critical mass, and then we cannot build enough influence within political structures to be able to actually influence the decision of who gets to emerge and who gets to occupy what. As I said earlier during previous contributions, the decision of who emerges a candidate is the most important thing in the political process, not even who you vote for at the end of the day, because that process is who determines the options that the electorate will have. So we need to be able to get into political party structures in large enough numbers to be able to do anything. Now, again, being very pragmatic, even if you do have the numbers, you need consensus building, you need to consult. So I mentioned the issue of stakeholder mapping earlier. That's something that you have to do irrespective of how well you've mobilized or irrespective of who controls the structure. And then in a lot of states, in a lot of places, you find that there might be one leader, but usually how it happens is that one leader also has like people who influence him, because it's usually a man. So if you're able to state your case before one of those people, they might be able to get in for you. Now, in politics, as with every other career field, because people will tell you this from academia to banking to even teaching, you need people who can speak for you in rooms that you cannot gain access to. So having mentors, having leaders, having people who support you. I'm going to come back to this, can't wait for a political party. Having mentors, having leaders, having people who support you is very key. But I think the problem with godfatherism begins when people begin to subvert processes. There's nothing wrong with mentorship. There's nothing wrong with favoring a candidate. Say you're a governor, you believe there is one aspirant who has the needed capacity to succeed you and consolidate on your achievements. There's nothing wrong with supporting someone. But when we begin to subvert processes such that democratic principles are thrown out the window, that's what I personally take exception to. But then if you look at how parties are built, if you look at the lukewarm attitude, when you talk to young people, the apathy, the reluctance to actually get involved, you can understand why it continues to happen. You can understand why the political system remains the way it is. And can we do away with godfatherism? Honestly, I don't think so. And then I mentioned something earlier about the issue of funding. A lot of candidates who emerge aren't necessarily spending their own money. And yes, a godfather who is not godfathering you with funds is no godfather at all. So exactly. So that's also something to consider. And it's why I raised the issue of campaign funding, financing, crowdfunding earlier. A lot of candidates need support. So honestly, the political system, as imperfect as it is, it actually also does make sense when you if you understand what goes on. You tend to have a clearer understanding of why things are the way they are. So I think the key advice that I would give to young people and to women and to young women is just, we have to join parties in very large numbers to be able to influence what goes on within them. And in as much as we might be averse to certain things, we also learn, we also need to learn how to build consensus and how to consult and how to relate with people who do not necessarily share the same vision and the same ideas that we do. Because politics at the end of the day is about managing people.
I like that. Zainab.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Okay, about how I got in the political, if you can repeat the question again.
The same question I asked Derinsola, is there a way to break the stranglehold at the grassroots? You know, I'm asking you because you actually won a council election in the FCT, and people are always talking about work your way up, start from the bottom. And we've talked about all the obstacles at the bottom. We've talked about party godfathers who often dictate who gets to run for local or state seats. So is there a way to break the stranglehold at the grassroots? Or is Derinsola right when she says,
Well, it depends on where you're coming from. For example, I went into politics, you know, a novice. I just went in like that. And, you know, my dad just dared me and I just went into the world. I didn't know. So I learned the hard way.
Your dad dared
you.
I like that.
Yeah, he dared me. And I just stood up and I just got a form. And how I got the form was wrong because I was supposed to get the form from the ward. So I went to the national level and that was my first sin, you know, in politics. So it was like Honorable Nana said, she had the double minority, whatever against her. I had quadruple. I was a Muslim, I was a woman, I was very educated, and I was from the north as well. So, but what gave me strength was I didn't see myself as a woman when I went into politics. I forgot because, you know, I had a lot of men around me and they saw in me what, you know, they believed in me because, you know, of what I had. So I didn't really have much of godfatherism, but I had like lions behind me. So it was easier for me. Do you understand? People wanted to intimidate me. They tried. But when they saw the name attached to me and who were behind, who the people that were just at my back, not because they were supporting me or they were pushing me. No, I did it on my own. I just woke up and I just decided to go into the world like that. But in some other spaces, it's different. For example, in the South, you have to have godfathers. There are some few places where you don't really have to have godfathers, but you need to have some names behind you, which maybe you can interpret as godfathers. And one thing that stood out for me was I started from the bottom, but they were surprised. How can somebody, normally you find local people, you know, people that are not that educated, maybe secondary school, you know, leavers that, you know, that just, you know, venture into local politics and it stays local and there's no progress, there's no initiative, no creativity, nothing. So what I did was I had 7 degrees, I put it on my poster, you know? And they were like, oh, okay, she's educated and she's coming to the bottom, you know, and stuff like that. And people I didn't know supported me. They gave me a lot of money, you know, and stuff like that. So there is a lot, you have to know your strength. Do a SWOT analysis on yourself. You have to know your strength and use that to your advantage, you know, especially in places where you don't have godfathers. Well, if you do have godfathers, then you have to identify, you know, you have to consult, you have to do that. I did some consulting as well. There were a few stakeholders that I really needed to meet, you know, and stuff just for their blessings and for them to make, because if not, they will frustrate you. They will send their boys after you. This is the reality, you know, and I just came back from England, you know, speaking with the, you know, and obviously they dealt with me. Yeah, at some point I just lost my, you know, the phone. I just lost it, and you know, I was like, you know, I became Agbero. You know, so there are a lot of things that you really, really need to, you know, identify. You know, it's a cultural problem. You know, and politics has its own culture, and you really, really need to learn the ropes. So if you do not know
the culture,
if you do not know, you know, what it entails, you know, you might, you know, learn the hard way. And I did learn the hard way, and it's a beautiful experience, but frustrating.
I do have to ask Dami. I'll come to Dami, then Kate Henshaw, because they're both, even though Kate Henshaw ran for office and also was a special advisor to her state governor, she's still more or less an outsider, kind of like Dami. Dami is more of an outsider than everybody else on this panel, but Kate can relate a little bit. Now, you cannot separate politics and elections from money all over the world. It's not a Nigerian problem. In Nigeria, it's a bit more ridiculous, but you know, politics and money, the same thing all over the world. Everybody on this panel has mentioned that. Fundraising is a big part of winning elections anywhere at all in the world, whether it is funding a structure or getting your message out or any other number of things. And you said that, Dami, that's why I'm coming to you with this question.
Okay.
And you have women in Nigeria with less economic power than men. Nena mentioned that COVID-19 has decimated that power even more. But even the money that Nigerian women do have isn't going into politics as much as men's money. How do we change that? How do we get more professional women such as yourself in the tech world, the bankers, the women who are in WIMBIs, for instance? How do we get business women, professional women to put money into women-centered politics? How do we do that?
So someone actually brought this up earlier. One of the things from a tech perspective, one thing that we can do, because someone mentioned safety, was, okay, doing things online. I know we're a long way away from there and from having elections online in Nigeria, but I actually like that suggestion. Let's think about what we can do to keep women safe. In terms of, COVID-19 and contributions and the impact on women's income, I think it's about everyone doing what they can where they are. So let's say that we had 1 million women in Nigeria contributing 1,000 naira to a party that they believed in. I don't know, my math right now is not really great, but I guess that's what, 10 million naira roughly, or over 100 million? That's an example. And then obviously people who are educated, who have more power, more disposable income, giving what they can, even if it's 50,000 naira a month, because we've seen it online. So for example, Nigerian women and feminists online are always raising money for causes. In a minute, we hear this lady has this problem, this woman has been abused, how can we support her? Women would have raised 5 million naira in like a minute, right? So when we care, when we are emotionally invested, as I think Cynthia said, well, we will definitely put our money where our mouths are. So I think
Damilola Dufua there speaking about Nigerian women putting their money where their mouth is. Let's take a break, Lagos. We'll be right back.
Hey, Oga and Madam, you don't see the room now. Make I show you the toilet where you could share with the other neighbors.
Now the toilet be this.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.